Hey guys, my name is Alex Torres. I placed third at Gencon Online Regionals with this past weekend with Yamcha, the Supersonic Striker. This is a mono red leader that piqued my interest a lot after Cross Spirits was released. After seeing the SCR for the set in Cross Spirits and the ban list that came with it, I figured that this deck had potential and decided to make a build with it. One of the things that piqued my interest with this deck is that when he swings, he gets a 5k boost, and he gets to look at the top two cards from the deck, add a mono red card, and discard the other. So what I liked about it is that you're going to filter a lot with this leader, and you're also going to fill your drop area for potential overrun plays. That was one of the main reasons about this leader. Also the fact that he awakens when he's at 5 life, I thought was really interesting. And once he does awaken, he untaps 1, draws 1. And on the other side, essentially is the same thing for the auto. When you attack, you get a 5k boost to make him a 20k body. And he gets to filter the deck like before. Top 2 cards, get a mono red card, discard the other. And also another thing he has on this side that he didn't have on the other side is that if you have a mono red unison in play, anytime one of your battle cards or unison cards deals a damage to your opponent with a non-keyword skill, you deal 1 life to your opponent. So it just gets an extra burn effect after burning 1 of their lives. So that's the leader on this. Like I said, the main reason for playing this deck was because of the SCR that came in the Cross Spirits. This SCR is amazing in this deck. It goes very well with the leader effect. If you can just trigger the activate main on him, he gets to burn 1 of your opponent's life, and then you pair that up with your leader to burn another life. So essentially, if your opponent has 2 life, you can just win the game by simply discarding the SCR from your battle area, dealing a life with him and dealing a life with your leader. Also, he is a dual attack that comes out for 5 energy. He has a permanent that cannot be removed from your battle area by your opponent's skills. And during battles in which this card attacked, you cannot use cards from your hand to combo. However, your opponent cannot use counter skills or blocker skills. And this really piqued my interest because when you play this guy, you're basically going to win that turn that you played him. I've only had 1 game that when I played him, I did not win the turn. I still won the game, but I didn't win on the turn that I played it. So it's essentially a game-winning card. As soon as you get to turn 5 and you play this card, which you should because you filter so much through your deck that you're going to find him on turn 5. If you get to play this guy, you're basically going to win because what's going to happen is when you attack, they can't counter it and they can't block with it. So they're going to have to use resources from their hand to out-combo your 40k. And they might be able to do it once, but once you swing again, that hit is probably going to land. If they're at 3 life and one of the hits lands, you activate the main to get rid of them, to burn the life, and then you burn life with the leader. You just got rid of 3 life, like incredibly fast. And that's besides the board that you've established during turns 1 and 4. So that's something to keep in mind. So that's the reason why I play this SCR. It just goes very well with the leader, and it just does so much work by himself. I've yet to lose a game where I play this card, and you will see him on turn 5 because you filled so much through your deck. Some of the cards that I added for the engine to run smoothly was this Gohan right here from Cross Spirits as well. Upon being played, this card looks at the top 5 cards on the top of your deck. It adds up 1 red Universe 7 with an energy cost of 4 or less, or 1 red Unison card with a specified cost of 2 among them to your hand, and then you shuffle your deck. So this guy will search your Unison that we play in this deck, and he will also search out one of the 3 Universe 7 cards that we play, depending on the matchups. So he's incredible as a turn 1 play. That's what you want to mulligan for, besides your Unison. And like I said, he just searches out like the core of the deck. So it's the perfect turn 1 play. Another turn 1 play that we have, just so we have something to do with our energy, is the Intensifying Power Trunks. He's just there to establish crit pressure against blue or green, and he self-awakens. So that's the main purpose for him, is also just to have a turn 1 play. To add to the turn 1 play, we also run the Mai. She's just a little bit of blue hate. I run a couple cards to kind of counter blue, and this is one of them. She has barrier, so it's hard for them to get rid of. And then when you play her, you draw a card. And she happens to be an Earthling, which is really good for this deck, as you'll see in a minute here. To pair up with all the Earthlings that we have in our deck, we run the Unison of choice is the Ultimate Shenron. He has a really cool ability as a +1, where you draw a card, you choose 1 card in your hand and place it at the bottom of your deck, and then choose up to one red Earthling only battle card with an energy cost of 2 or less in your hand, and you play it. So you can play the Mai. You cannot play Trunks and you cannot play Gohan, even though they are Earthlings, because they have to be Earthling only. But your main target in this decks are the Yamchas that we're going to get to in a second here, and then it could also be the Mice if you're playing against blue. So he does, and you draw a card with it. So again, more filtering. And the really good thing about this Unison is that he's a 20k Unison, so if your opponent wants to get rid of him, they're going to have to combo cards from their hand, because usually the swings are about 15, including the leaders. So that's why I really like this this Unison, because it stays on the board, and he filters through your deck and plays you cards for free. We run this other Unison for the deck. He is just primarily there to stop some potential plays that your opponent can do, primarily in Android 16 or something like a black deck or like a hatch deck that want to bring out cards based off skills. This guy has essentially the same thing that this Unison has as his +1, except that you're never going to use it for that ability, just like you're never going to use this Unison's ability of -3, because he comes out with 2 markers, so you don't want that to ever happen. The reason being is because you're going to use him specifically for the -2 effect. So you're going to pay 4, -2, and that basically guarantees that you're going to go into a turn 5 if you're playing decks that require this guy. What he says is at the -2 that your opponent plays a battle card or any card with a skill, it goes straight to the drop area. It doesn't even hit the board. So, and he's a 20k Unison, so it's kind of a little harder for them to deal with it. And like I said here, the main options for your Shenron Unison to bring out is Yamcha the Lawless. At the end of your turn, if your leader card is an Earthling card, you draw a card. So he's going to let you draw a bunch of cards so they don't get rid of them. If they do get rid of them, we have answers for that. We'll get to in a sec. And he also provides a lot of fear, because when he swings, if you do decide to swing with him, he has the potential to tap 2 energies, and it's an activate battle. If you tap 2 energies, he gets a 15k boost and double strike. So that's always something that your opponent has to keep in mind, especially if they're at 2 life, that this guy could be a game ender. I usually don't swing with him because I want to draw as many cards as possible. And if my opponent gets rid of him via skill, that's fine with me because I have ways to get him back. More Earthling targets, we have the Puar. He's here for a couple reasons. One, because with the Unison, you don't want to whiff on the +1 ability to play a free Earthling. So there's another target you can play off of it. And he's also here as a Self-Awakener. Keep in mind, this Puar cannot bring out this Yamcha from your deck when you combo with it, because it has to be a Yamcha strictly on top, and he's a Yamcha the Lawless, so it wouldn't work. However, that's not the point of this card being here. It would be great if it could, but that's not the point of it. The main point, like I said, is to have another target for the Unison to bring out a free body. And also because when you combo with them, you take a life and you self-awaken. And that's pretty important in some matchups. Like I said, we had ways to bring back our Yamchas and our Earthlings, and this is the way to get them back with Bulma the Bunny Girl. She says she's a unique blocker, and it says that when one of your Earthling battle cards is removed from your battle area, you play her and you bring out 4 or less Earthling into your field. So the only targets for that really is just the Yamcha the Lawless, but that's really all you want to grab. And then going into some of the aggro pack of this deck, we have a 3 of Goku Divine Presence. This card is incredible. It's also one of the cards besides DSCR that really caught my eye and decided to go with the red. Because when you have 2 cards in your combo area, you can tap 2 energies to bring him out, and he has Deflect Dual Attack. When he gets played, you can give one of your cards a 5k battle or boost, and when he swings, you can get a skill list from your deck, which we don't run, but that's a thing you can do. And he also gets to get a 5k boost to himself. So he's essentially a 25 to a 30k body dual attack that cannot be removed during your turn from the battle area. So again, really good against those Majin Buu Unisons or any Unison in particular, but especially against blue, where they tend to rely on the Buu to get rid of battle cards. Well, this is a really good answer to it, especially if you throw a Champa on it. You can do a lot of damage, and including with your leader, that's another 20k. So I really love this card. I think you can't run the deck without it. And you have a lot of easy ways to combo. Puar is one card that you can combo with. Like, there's a lot of cards in your deck that you don't mind comboing off to get this guy in the field. Another card that we run that also happens to be a Universe 7 card is Vegeta Royal Evolution. This card is really good in this deck because it's a searchable target off the Gohan, and also because when you combo with him, that's one of the cards you can use as part of the Divine Presence cost. And also, he gets to restand your leader if you tap an energy. He restands your leader and gives your leader a 5k boost. So with that 5k boost, it's really good for the leader because when the leader swings, he gets a 5k boost himself. So then he's at 20. And then when you combo with him and you restand your leader, now your leader swings at 25. And if you gave your leader a 5k boost off Divine Presence, then now your leader's swinging at 30. So that's a really good way to add up, if you wanted to go that far up, I guess. But he's just there for that kind of pressure. Another Universe 7 target we have is Son Goku Kaioken. He's just there for a board wipe. That's primarily why we run him. He's very searchable, like I said, with Gohan. This deck filters a lot besides stats. You're bound to see him, especially at 2 copies. And he's just there for Android 16, Gogetas, other red decks that flood the board. And again, you can't run this deck without him. You really need a board wipe. And he's the perfect target for that. To add to the pressure, we have King Piccolo, the new ruler. He is a double striker that cannot be blocked, and he's a 20k body. He's very strong, especially if you pair him up with a couple cards that I have in the deck. You really want to play him when your opponent's at 5 life. If you can get your opponent down to 3 life, that's when the deck it's almost guaranteed to win if they're at 3 life, because all you have to do is kind of stall them out to turn 5 and play the SCR. And once the SCR is in the field, especially if they're at 3 life, and this guy helps us get to 3. Another card that really helps with that is Bardock, Super Saiyan 4, fighting against Fates. He's a dual attack 25k, overwhelm 6, which is fairly easy in this deck because every time you're filtering through your deck, you're discarding cards. When you bring out Divine Presence, you're discarding 2 cards because they were comboed. You can get them out back-to-back turns, like turn 3, turn 4, and then turn 5 you play your SCR. That's happened multiple times. And again, 25k body dual attack, it just gets your opponent down to 3 life, even 2 life. And then one card, just in case your opponent is at 2 life, we run one of the Son Gokus, the Pure Hearted. He has Deflect, so in some matchups that's very important. And then he has a very cool auto that goes well with the leader as well. He says that when it swings, the auto triggers, when he swings at a battle card, the auto says to crit a life, add a life to your hand, and then your opponent burns a life. It doesn't say anything about knocking out the battle card, it doesn't say anything about dealing damage. All it says is that as long as you swing at a battle card, and you meet the requirements of taking a life and critting a life, then you just burn one of your opponent's life. And like I said, if you manage to bring him down to 2 life by turn 3 or 4, then this card just wins you the game because he's gonna just burn one of the life, and then you trigger the auto on your leader, and he burns another life. So you just got rid of 2 life by tapping 3 energies on turn 4. It's very rare when it happens, but it has happened before. It did not happen in this tournament, but I've done it plenty of times in my locals, and I've done it at when I play test. So I wouldn't remove him, even though he's kind of just there sometimes. And then we have 2 double strike Champas. Again, we want to get rid of some unisons, and we want to get their life down to 3. So Champa makes that very easy for us. Something else that makes getting their life down to 3 is the Frieza Death Ball. Pair that up with the new ruler, and you basically get there. I wouldn't swing with new ruler unless they're like at 4 life or 5 life. That's when I would swing new ruler. Besides that, I would wait till I have Frieza Death Ball and new ruler in hand before doing something like that. But yeah, he's essentially there as the perfect match for new ruler, and it's also a defensive card. He gives you a 15k boost, and he necks something 10k, which could be pretty relevant in some matchups like black. The 3 Yamcha counterplays, it's pretty staple in red, so you have to run counterplays. If you're playing against a red deck or a black deck or even a green deck, just negging something 15k it's gonna board wipe in its own. So you have to run these, and it happens to be an Earthling too. So I guess that's another target for your Bulma the Bunny Girl. The 4 super combos Raditz, that's more filtering to the deck, and of course the 10k combo boost. He's just there because I feel like if you're looking for Bardock, if you're looking for new ruler, or you're just simply looking for your SER, well, that's a surefire way to get him. Just super combo, draw 2 cards, and you're bound to hit it at that point. I have 2 Toppos because I still think Toppo's very strong. It won me a lot of games today, or at this regional. I don't know if people are not taking answers for Toppo anymore, but it turned out very good for me. Sometimes I needed Toppo. Like if I had something other than Toppo during a couple of my rounds, I don't think I would have survived. I found the opportunity to just run two of them, and then if he lands, if you successfully play him, like I said, you just push turn 5 with it. I have 2 after image techniques. This is mainly because I was thinking that I was going to play a lot of black decks. So I figured I'm going to run the after image techniques because the token negates for me, the testing the oppositions. I don't really like them against black. They just get warped at best. You take your own life and it gets warped, so it doesn't really do much. As opposed to this is essentially a negate as well. And sparking 5, you come across it as soon as turn 2. Neg something 10k for the turn. So I feel like this stops 2 swings just as much as testing the opposition stops 2 swings. Or even against Vegex, you can get rid of their Kais, their pseudo super combos. And I do run just the one of the testing the opposition just because I know it's a good card. It's just depending on the matchups. So I can't deny that it's a good card, and I will run it at 1. I wish I could run it at 2. The reason why I don't is because the deck space is a little tight. It's at exactly 50, and I don't want to add up to it. So that's that. And then another card that's a 1-of that I wish could be at 2 is Violent Race. This card I probably will boost up to 2, but I got to figure out what to take out. This card is just insane. It came in so clutch today against Android 16, against Majin Vegeta. Gogeta even. I played a Kid Goku that played Gogeta package. So yeah, this card was it overperformed, and I wish I could run it at 2. And I probably will run it at 2. So that's one thing I would change. So that's basically the deck list. Like I said, this deck tends to go to turn 5. By turn 5, you should be able to draw this card. You should be able to play this card. And you don't have to win with this card. I won 3 of my rounds. By turn 3 I won because of how the aggro that I can run. King Piccolo, Bardock, Divine Presence, my leader swing. There's just a lot of things you can do with this deck besides just relying on the SER. But the way I went with this deck is I'm going to get to turn 5, drop the SER, and just win the game with him. And like I said, every time I play this card, with the exception of 1 game, as soon as you play this card, you win the game. It's crazy good. And that'll do it for the deck profile, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. And we'll see how much damage I can do with Yamcha in the future. And we'll see you then.